4,000 kilometers from New York City, there is a volcanic island in the Atlantic Ocean. It has beaches, hotels. 500,000 tourists visit every year. It is also cracked vertically down its western flank, and the crack is getting deeper. You are probably not thinking about La Palma right now. You have no reason to. It's a beautiful island in the Canary Archipelago off the northwest coast of Africa. People retire there. People honeymoon there. In 2021, its Cumbre Vieja volcano erupted for 85 days, destroyed 3,000 homes, and buried entire villages under lava. And when the eruption ended, scientists went back to measure the crack. It had widened. In 2001, geologists Simon Day and Stephen Ward published a study in Geophysical Research Letters that stopped the scientific community cold. Their conclusion? That a future eruption of Cumbre Vieja could trigger the collapse of the western flank, a slab of rock estimated at 500 cubic kilometers, roughly the volume of the entire Isle of Man, dropping into the Atlantic Ocean at once. The wave generated by that collapse would not be a normal tsunami, it would be a megatsunami. Initial wave heights off the Canary Islands between 100 and 900 meters, a wall of water taller than the Empire State Building, moving across the Atlantic at the speed of a commercial aircraft. Destination? The entire Atlantic seaboard. NOAA's subsequent modeling identified the impact zone as stretching from Newfoundland to Brazil. The cities in that zone include Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., Miami, Lisbon, Casablanca, and every coastal settlement in between. Combined population of the Atlantic coastline within direct impact range? Over 50 million people. The 2021 eruption didn't trigger the collapse, but it reminded every volcanologist watching exactly what is sitting on that island and exactly what the western flank is doing. If this is your first time on the Doomsday Archive, subscribe now and turn on notifications. We cover the scenarios science confirms are possible. This one is not theoretical. The crack exists. The geology is documented. And in part 2, we're going to explain exactly why the ocean between La Palma and New York is not protection. It is a delivery system. So how does a collapsing island produce a wave that kills people 4,000 kilometers away? Most people picture a tsunami as a wave, a tall wall of water you can see coming, like in the movies. That image is wrong, and the difference between the image and the reality is the difference between having a chance and having none. A megatsunami in the open ocean doesn't look like a wave. It looks like the sea level rising rapidly, unstoppably. A pulse of displaced water moving outward in all directions from the collapse point, traveling at 700 to 800 kilometers per hour across the deep Atlantic. At that speed, the wave reaches the coast of West Africa in under an hour. The Canary Islands themselves experience the initial wave within minutes, walls of water between 100 and 900 meters high, depending on proximity to the collapse. Every structure on the Western Canary Islands ceases to exist within the hour. But it's the transatlantic propagation that makes this scenario categorically different from any tsunami in recorded history. The wave crosses 4,000 kilometers of open ocean in approximately 6 to 9 hours. By the time it reaches the American eastern seaboard, it has lost height but gained something else entirely: reach. NOAA modeling projects wave heights of 20 to 25 meters, striking the coast of Florida, the Carolinas, and the Mid-Atlantic states. In certain coastal geometries, bays, inlets, river mouths, the wave amplifies further as it compresses into shallower water. 25 meters. In Miami Beach, the average building height in the first 3 blocks from the ocean is 12 meters. Now think about what you do on a beach vacation. You're in the Outer Banks of North Carolina with your family. It's July. The beaches are packed. Your hotel is 400 meters from the water. The warning time from the moment of collapse to wave arrival on the U.S. East Coast is 6 to 9 hours. That sounds like enough time. Here's what they're not telling you. The warning infrastructure for a transatlantic megatsunami does not exist at the scale this scenario requires. NOAA's Deep Ocean Tsunami Buoy Network was designed and positioned for Pacific seismic tsunami sources. Atlantic coverage has critical gaps. A 2022 assessment by the Intergovernmental Oceanographic Commission identified the Atlantic Basin as significantly under-monitored for rapid, large-amplitude tsunami events. 6 to 9 hours of warning time means nothing if the alert system takes 3 hours to confirm, another hour to issue, and the evacuation routes on the barrier islands of North Carolina can move approximately 40,000 cars per hour. There are 400,000 people on those islands in peak summer. But here's what changes everything. The collapse doesn't have to be total to be catastrophic. And in part 3, we're going to place you inside the cities that would receive this wave, hour by hour, street by street. It is a Tuesday morning in late August, 6:17 a.m. Eastern Time. Somewhere in the monitoring network, an alert fires. Cumbre Vieja has erupted. The western flank is moving. The collapse has begun. You are asleep in your apartment in Lower Manhattan, 14 blocks from the Hudson River. Your building was constructed in 1987. Your neighborhood sits at an average elevation of 2 meters above sea level. The alert reaches NOAA's Pacific Tsunami Warning Center. The Atlantic Center has been understaffed for a decade at 6:22 a.m. Confirmation protocols require verification from multiple sensors. The first transatlantic buoy confirmation comes at 6:51 a.m. It is now 6:51 a.m. The wave is already crossing the mid-Atlantic. You are still asleep. The official emergency alert reaches your phone at 7:34 a.m. It tells you to evacuate immediately to high ground. You live in Manhattan. The highest point in Lower Manhattan is about 10 meters above sea level. The projected wave height for the upper New York Bay, compressed by the Verrazano Narrows, is modeled at between 15 and 30 meters. You have approximately 4 hours. The subway is not running. The tunnels under the East River and Hudson River are evacuation liabilities, not assets. They fill with water. Every bridge out of Manhattan is already gridlocked within 20 minutes of the alert. The LIE is stationary. The George Washington Bridge northbound is stationary. You are standing on a street corner in Lower Manhattan at 8 a.m., watching traffic not move, with a phone that says evacuate and nowhere to evacuate to. Now move south. You're in Miami. Elevation 2 meters. The wave arrival time for Miami's coast is projected at 7 to 8 hours after collapse, slightly longer than New York due to geometry. You have more warning time on paper. But Miami-Dade County's evacuation modeling for a Category 5 hurricane, a scenario the county has actually drilled for, projects 12 to 18 hours to fully clear the mandatory evacuation zones. A megatsunami gives you 7. You own a car. You fill your tank every week. You are prepared by any reasonable standard of American preparedness. You are still in traffic on I-95 North when the wave arrives. This is not a worst-case scenario. This is the median NOAA projection applied to real urban geography and real evacuation data. In Part 4, we talk about what governments have built, what they've planned, and one critical decision made in 2018 that left the Atlantic coast without the warning time it needs.
So, what exists to protect you? In 2018, NOAA proposed an expansion of the Atlantic Deep Ocean Tsunami Buoy Network. The proposal identified 17 critical sensor gaps in the mid-Atlantic that would reduce warning confirmation time from 60 to 90 minutes down to under 20. The cost? Approximately $40 million. The funding was not approved. For context, $40 million is roughly the cost of 200 meters of urban highway construction. What does exist is the Tsunami Ready program, a NOAA certification for coastal communities that have developed evacuation plans, installed warning sirens, and trained emergency personnel. As of 2024, fewer than 30% of Atlantic coastal communities at meaningful tsunami risk hold that certification. The sirens that would warn you, if they exist in your community, are the same sirens used for other emergencies. In areas without dedicated tsunami signage, a significant percentage of the population does not know what a siren means in a coastal context or where to go. Japan learned this after 2011. Communities with clear vertical evacuation routes and regular drills survived at dramatically higher rates than communities that had the same warning time but no practiced response. The difference wasn't the wave. It was the 20 minutes before it. But here's what they're not telling you. The La Palma scenario is not the only Atlantic megatsunami source. The Cumbre Vieja flank is the most studied, the most documented, the most modeled. There are at least 4 other volcanic island flanks in the Atlantic with documented instability: in the Azores, in the Cape Verde Islands, in the Lesser Antilles. Cumbre Vieja is the one scientists talk about because the data is clearest. It is not the only gun in the room. If this video is making you check what your town's evacuation plan actually says, hit the like button. It helps this channel reach people in the impact zone who need to see this. Share it specifically with someone who lives on the Atlantic coast, not to frighten them, to give them the information that a $40 million budget decision chose not to fund. In Part 5, we arrive at the probability, the timeline, and a monitoring development from late 2024 on Cumbre Vieja that hasn't made it into mainstream coverage yet. It should have.
So what are the actual odds? The scientific community is not unified on a single probability figure for Cumbre Vieja flank collapse. The 2001 Day and Ward paper generated significant debate. Some volcanologists argue the flank would collapse in stages rather than as a single catastrophic event, producing a serious but survivable tsunami rather than a civilizational-scale megatsunami. That debate matters. Staged collapse produces wave heights measured in meters, not hundreds of meters. Still catastrophic for coastal communities, not an Atlantic-wide civilizational event. But the debate is not about whether the flank will eventually collapse. It will. The geological record of the Canary Islands documents multiple previous flank collapses over the last million years. The debris fields on the Atlantic seafloor surrounding the islands are the evidence. This has happened before, repeatedly on the same island chain. The question is whether the next collapse is staged or singular. And the 2021 eruption did not answer that question. It deepened it. In late 2024, the Instituto Geográfico Nacional released updated deformation data from sensors embedded in Cumbre Vieja's western flank. The data showed accelerated ground movement in the 6 months following the end of the 2021 eruption, compared to the 6 months prior. The flank is not stabilizing. It is continuing to move. Now make it personal, one final time. You have parents who retired to a condo in Fort Lauderdale, ground floor, ocean view. They paid a premium for that view. They are proud of it. They have not heard of the clathrate gun hypothesis, and they have not heard of Cumbre Vieja. Why would they? Nobody told them. The information that their ocean view condo sits in a modeled inundation zone for a scenario that geologists have documented, that NOAA has modeled, and that a $40 million funding decision chose not to address, that information is in scientific journals and government technical reports that no one reads at the breakfast table. That is why this channel exists. The crack in Cumbre Vieja is real. The Atlantic is not a barrier. The warning infrastructure has known gaps, and the cities on the other side were built on the assumption that the ocean between them and that island is protection. It isn't. Subscribe to the Doomsday Archive so you don't miss what's coming next. Because next week, we're covering a threat with no ocean between you and it. No warning system of any kind. A scenario unfolding right now in the soil beneath cities across North America that has already begun and cannot be reversed. Scientists have known about it for 40 years. Governments have avoided the price tag of addressing it, and the infrastructure it is quietly destroying carries 200 million people's daily water supply. That video goes live in 7 days. This is the Doomsday Archive. Tomorrow is coming. Will you be ready?